He brought his savings account.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending the meeting of Mumbles Community Council for 12th of November 2024. So if I start with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. See that? Apologies for absence. Okay, so if we move on to item 2, which is declarations of interest.
I've got one, Chair. Regarding item 16, Austrian Centre update. I'm the vice chair of the Austrian Association.
Oh, right on.
History.
No, I'm the chair of the history.
Okay.
Austrian Association.
I didn't know.
Yeah, the meeting last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll need to leave.
Okay, any more declarations of interest? If not, we'll move on to point 3, which is public participation. Members of the public may make representations, ask questions, give evidence at this meeting in respect of business which is on the agenda. I can't see any members of the public that are attending this meeting at the moment. So, if there's no representation, on to item 4, which is in your meeting pack, which is the minutes of the monthly meeting held on the 8th of October. I'll go through the minutes, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, and page 9. And the rest of them then I'll just financial figures. Any comments or any observations? If not, can I move that these minutes be accepted as a true record of the meeting on the 8th of October? Rob, on the second to be okay, thank you very much. Then I go on to point 5, which unfortunately is a sad item. I just wanted to report to the full council and have it minuted that unfortunately former councillor Brian Arthur, who was a former chair of Mumbles Community Council, was chair of the council between 2009 and 2011, passed away last week. And I just wanted to have it noted at full council, the contribution that Brian made at his time as councillor. He did a lot of work, particularly in relation to different projects. And I know for some of the younger councillors, for instance, you wouldn't be aware of Brian, but he was quite a well-known character around Mumbles, and particularly around West Cross. And he did quite a lot of work in relation to projects such as Jubilee Gardens and various other things. So I think it's fitting that we formally note his passing and note the contribution that he gave to Mumbles Community Council. I don't know if any other councillors want to make any observations or any memories from the known Councillor Arthur. But more than anything, I think we formally note of his passing. Okay, if that's the case. So then, if we move on to the chair's report then. Okay. So my chair's report for November 2024. As we enter the run-up to Christmas, I'm pleased to report that the Community Council continued to be involved in a number of events that have provided a great deal of entertainment for our community members. 2 of which were the Halloween events that were organised by community councillors and staff of both West Cross and Underhill. Both of the events were successful, and it was great to see MCC playing an active role in contributing to another marker of the social calendar in our community. Of course, November is Remembrance Month, where we mark the ultimate sacrifice of those who have fallen in wars throughout the world. This year, as I did last, as chair of the council, I attended 2 remembrance events. The first was held at Oystermouth Castle and was organised by the Friends of the Castle. It was an opportunity to showcase the wonderful work of our local yarn bombers, who assembled a display consisting of upwards of 6,000 handmade poppies, which they had spent many hours crocheting, crocheting and sewing into netting in preparation for the display that was draped down the side of the castle, and which sought to highlight the respect given to the many of the thousands of local people who had served in our armed forces over the years, and to veterans who gave their lives to the country. This poppy team have been working closely with Mumbles Community Council, local air cadets, and Swansea Council, who store and prepare the poppies for the show at this remembrance event. Of course, every year we have the Remembrance Sunday service at All Saints Church, which this year was on Sunday the 10th of November. I am pleased to report that this year, at both the service at the church and at the parade at the Cenotaph, there was a fantastic turnout of the local community, and the ceremony was very moving. It was great to see such a good representation from our faith communities and other local community organisations, and how everybody came together in what proved to be a very fitting tribute. The remembrance events have been a feature of Mumbles' life for some 100 years now, but a new community event, which is in its first year of hopefully many, that I want to highlight in this report is MCC's new photography competition, The Essence of Mumbles, which is due to be launched this week at Theo's Coffee Shop in the heart of Mumbles. I'm pleased to report that the stand of entries has been very high and provides a fascinating snapshot of our community in the year of 2024. I would encourage councillors to pop along to the exhibition to see how our community has been represented. That concludes my report for this month. I don't know if anybody's any comments, observation.
I was in a meeting yesterday, quite a big meeting, and it suddenly came out that I was a Mumbles Community Council, and somebody said, Mumbles Community Council, they're absolutely fantastic. I said, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No, I think that's very true. It is so nice when people stop us, and you know, sort of said it really struck me when somebody came on to me in Marks and Spencer's when I was just doing some shopping. Somebody I didn't know at all just tapped me on the shoulder and just sort of said, I think Mumbles Community Council, the Mumbles Fest and the work Mumbles Community Council is fantastic. It makes a lot of difference to us in the community. It's really lovely. No, thank you for that, Pam. It's really. So if I move on to the Parks report.
Hello.
Remember the Parks?
So not really much to report from me, but first of all, I just wanted to start by thanking all councillors and staff for their support while I was off. It was very refreshing, the level of support and messages I received from individuals wanted to make sure I was okay. Some people checking more than others when I was going to be back. Not looking for anybody in particular. Joking. It was very nice and very refreshing for me. I was eager to come back, and that's the first time in any job I think I've been saying I want to go back to work. So it was really nice to come back. I'm happy that while I've been off, a couple of things that I left in the hands of the staff have progressed. Just to name a few, the very rushed grant funding application that Angela and myself were approached about, that we were told you need to get an application in ASAP. We successfully got just under £7,000 towards the Christmas light switch on this year. So you will see a new addition in Mumbles this year with a big 3-foot Christmas tree outside the Ostrom Centre here, which the idea is that it will be a photo point for people when they're Christmas shopping, so they can stop and have Christmas photos and things like that. It couldn't quite fit the one that you walked through underneath in there, which I was hoping for, and we did get a bit carried away when we were looking at what we could possibly have. Also to note on that, we successfully secured the land train as well for the Christmas light switch on, which will do 2 runs, carrying children with some elves on the train. So I am looking for volunteers of people who would like to to assist in that.
It's a compliment, you got help like.
Yeah, The second one I'd like to highlight is the movement with Langland basketball court. I'm really pleased that a quote has been secured. We've had a further quote for the surfacing. We're just waiting for, there's some sub forms that need to be filled in and sent back to the contractor as well. So hopefully that will get moving in the very near future. So I'm pleased that there's been a couple of different things that have progressed along while I've been off, and obviously I'm keen to get my teeth back into the ongoing projects that we need to tie up to free us up to take on more going forward. So I just want to thank you all. So.
Thank you. And welcome back. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Will?
Yeah, thanks. Nice to have you back as well. So I'm sure you've got plenty to do and we'll keep you busy. Langland Tennis Court, does that need to come back to council? Because I think we agreed fencing, but not the surface. But is that part of the same?
You've agreed the fencing, and obviously the flooring has been done as an extension of that.
Okay, great.
So that falls in line with our own standard orders and financial regulations when you extend a contract. So we looked at that before we went to them, don't worry. And just to update you as well, she reminded me, the tennis courts, because you asked me to organise the clean-up of the tennis courts, Ashley's been down there and cleared all the debris that's fallen. However, the moss removal, I'm waiting for tennis association to come back. They've just got quotes in and they're waiting to appoint somebody, although we did say it was only cleaned a couple of months ago. And I said yes, but you need to factor in that you're next to the seaside, and the sea air will, when it's not raining, there'll always be mist around that area. So they are obviously looking to do that, and hopefully I'll be able to update when that's been done.
Great. I think it's worth us bearing in mind, maybe looking to cut trees back. We have asked the council, obviously they've already got tree surgeons, the whole county, so it might be something.
To be brought forward, yeah.
Yeah, I think they are overhanging the courts, so it might be one of the reasons that not enough sun's getting onto the court. Yeah, a bit too high. Yeah.
Okay, so if we move on to item 8, which is financial report for October 2024. Can you do that?
Yeah, so obviously in your packs, I'm just right now, Paul has included the financial report there. So all the payments are listed there that have been made in September. Obviously seeking retrospective approval of them. Any questions that anybody has with regards to them? No? Okay. And then obviously income for September is recorded there as well. And then obviously the final bank balances at the end of September and a very brief budget monitoring report. Actual expenditure to the end of August represents 22.2% of the actual 24-25. Again, happy to take any questions on that.
Any questions? If not, can I move that the point one, the payments made by the RFO in September 2024 are retrospectively approved? All in favour? Okay. And then point 2, the budget monitoring report for the 31st of the 8th, 2024 is approved. All in favour?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I move on to point 9, then report from the chair of the Finance and Compliance.
There's not an awful lot to report, as the last meeting was not a long one. It's the 2 grant applications that have actually bypassed even the committee because they came in and they're quite urgent as a separate agenda items today, so we can straight for council. On a happy note, what I can report is that the Mumbles, Rooms and Gells Movers, since we gave them funding, have been able to apply for lottery funding and have secured enough funding for the next 3.5 years here for the Mumbles, Movers and Gells Movers. It's for the older people thing. So they've secured enough funding to make all classes free for the next 3 to 3.5 years, which is great because it gets their social side of it back. So Vicky rang me up and told me that they'd got the lottery funding, so they're absolutely over the moon with that. So thank you for everybody who supported that. So that's my report.
Good. Okay, any questions? Okay, so
I can't make a Monday morning. I know that's when you have your meeting with you. I'm sorry, I can't do Monday morning.
No problem, but I'll be in touch and we'll.
Yes, absolutely.
okay. So if we move on to point 10, report from the Chair of Community and Social Development Committee.
Thank you, Chair. This is following the meeting on the 16th of October. The main items, of course, was the exercise equipment on the West Cross promenade. There's nothing to report there. It's in the hands of with the RFO and the City Council. There's money's been allocated for it. I'd like to just pick up on the Langland tennis courts. This is something amusing.
Yes, you missed it because you was the wrong island. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, just post-it note and about 100.
Yeah, that's all right. It's nice to be jovial, isn't it? It makes a change here. Langland tennis courts has been probably discussed by the clerk. I'm glad to hear that some information has been received from the RFO. The committee hasn't had that information, I would add, that the meeting has taken place. I believe it's going to be the 24th of October. And the idea being it was the same company doing the fencing will be doing the resurfacing. So that's good. And we will look forward to see what the quote will be for that. The other good thing that we discussed at committee was the area surrounding the Langland tennis courts was in a shocking state. It was totally overgrown, neglected, and thanks to City and our City councillors pushing things in the right direction, that work's been completed. I didn't realise there was an issue with any of the trees, however. I think we have to be a little bit careful when we start interfering with the trees. We'd need to have a look at them, and we may well have to call in the tree officer on that. Those trees are all protected down there. If it's shrubbery, that's a slightly different matter. So that's the sum total. There's nothing else to report, Chair.
Just to come back there about the trees, you've been told time and time again that the trees are causing damage to the surfaces of the tennis courts. So if we want to keep them well maintained, we've got to maintain the trees as well because they are causing damage. So we need to be careful. You need to be mindful of that, I think. The stuff that drops on the
dropping off the tree there.
birds mostly are causing and then the acid.
It eats into it, yes.
Okay.
Just
Kenny.
Yes, can I just jump in there? If we go down the route of engaging a tree surgeon, you can actually find tree surgeons that will engage with the community council as well for the trees that have got TPO from them to get permission to do the work. Because the footpath, which has got protected trees on it, and I had to pay for a tree surgeon to come and cut the trees, and they've done all that work on my behalf. So I know that there's companies out there that will do all the work, legwork with the TPOs and the county council for you to be able to take the trees back and get them maintained. So obviously we can get those quotes and bring them back to community and social if you're happy with that. Yeah.
Well, the first I've heard that the trees were causing an issue with the actual courts.
Yeah.
Can one say which courts?
The new ones.
Our courts, yeah. If I could just,
1 and 2.
if I could just explain for years, the trees were always cut and maintained and kept behind the path. And in recent years, they've grown over the path and also now over the top of the fence, and the leaves often fall in, and the sun and the birds and stuff.
So it's on the.
It's a lack of
It's
it's a lack of maintenance.
not the corridor lines on the other side.
No.
the ones that were pushing the wall
No,
out.
it's not those ones. No, it's the other side. Yeah.
So it's coming right over onto the Thames. Number of homes. But I would suggest that one would have to be very careful before you do anything about cutting them back. Because trees are protected. It's a conservation area.
Whereas said experts can deal with both sides.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that, but
Okay.
Hello, can I join the conversation as well? Because I've had.
Yes, you are being brought in, Sandra. You're being brought in as per the fact that you had indicated you wanted to speak. You're not being excluded from the conversation. Okay, do you want to speak now, Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, reinforce what Ian's saying, that you have to be very careful. The trees are protected, and frankly, the trees are more important than any tennis court, to be honest. Thank you.
Any other contributions?
Made up points.
Okay, so those things have been noted and can be taken forward, I suppose, with consultation with the tree protection officers and that. Okay, so if we go on to point 11, report from the chair of the environmental committee. Maybe give a written report as
I
well.
was going to say it is available to everyone on Teams. But there are some quite key things that decisions or, well, information and decisions. The first thing is that the Big Climate Leap initial report has been received. Rob has given us a brief overview. The report is detailed and quite complex. It was, I can't remember how many pages long, but it was a lot, wasn't it?
A lot.
Yes. So the committee agreed that there should be a Big Climate Leap working group made up of interested councillors and others who have expertise to contribute, which was one of the recommendations, but seems to have fallen off the agenda. Unless, oh, they're all lumped together, are they, rather than separate? So we, at that point, we need to see if there are people who would be interested in joining that. The monthly litter picks, the dates have been set, and they will rotate round the wards, with the first one being in Newton. So if the Newton councillors could please liaise with Rob ASAP to agree where they want it. It'll be on Sunday, December the 1st, so all on the first Sunday of each month. January will be Oystermouth, February will be Males, and March will be West Cross, and then we'll start the rotation again. As you know, we have the Environment Centre Green Fair on Saturday and Sunday, the 23rd and 24th of November. Well worth a visit. Obviously, it's free to go into, and there's masses of stalls there, and there's some fantastic presents and decorations and cards and all sorts of Christmassy related things. So well worth a visit. And anyone who wishes, Waterfront Museum. Anyone who would like to come along and spend a couple of hours on our stall would be most welcome, because that would free up myself on Sunday and Rob on Saturday, who are mainly looking after the stalls. I say the litter pick in Newton, please let Rob know as soon as possible, because the notice needs to go out on social media so people know where it's going to be. And then on Tuesday, December the 3rd, will be the next of our Mumbles Green Heroes event. And our presenter will be Will Beasley from Caerphilly. And the topic will be health and well-being, connection to nature and horticulture. So it's all about community growing, and hopefully there'll be lots of ideas that people can take back and use. So that's at Underhill as usual on December the 3rd at 5:30. When the links go out onto social media, please, if you could share them as widely as you can and encourage people to come along. The Keep Wales Tidy litter picking hub launch has had to be postponed because the chap from Keep Wales Tidy is ill at the moment. So we don't know when that will now take place. Possibly will have to be now after Christmas. Okay, thanks very much. And to say the full report is available on Teams.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kenny. Any questions, Rob?
Just to sort of repeat something I've said before about the possibility of having the litter picks on a Saturday, because Sunday is an impossible day for me to do with family commitments, and also it being a day of rest. I think we're all entitled to have a Sunday off anyway. I think a Saturday is a better day for it.
I think it works better for most people on a Sunday, so.
Look, I just think if you want yours on a Saturday, you need to organise with Rob on a Saturday. I set them all on a Sunday this year, just purely because my kids do football on Saturday. I think you need to arrange it at a time that's best for you.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that I think if this is the case, if you and other councillors, then liaise directly with Rob, because I'm sure I'm sure it could be moved to a Saturday on a particular occasion.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is we do have some fairly regular volunteers. They know first Sunday of the month there will be a litter pick. Obviously, they're not necessarily going to be there if it's on a Saturday, so that's just something you need.
So, but, at the same time, we can have some flexibility. If somebody wants a particular litter pick in a particular area on a particular day. We've been talking about this recently with people down in Ripples and all that. Yeah, so liaise directly.
Any additional ones are always more than welcome.
I don't know who here knows Will Beasley.
Me.
Does anyone do you know Donna, his wife? Right. So Will Beasley is a Newton person. His wife Donna's a sea swimmer. He's a consultant surgeon in Morriston. He's honestly mind-blowing. I totally recommend him. I've taken the team up to his side. They bought loads of land in Morriston Hospital. It's really, really inspirational what they're doing. They're doing veg boxes for patients, for nurses. People from the hospital are going and growing. It's really inspirational. And he is such a cool guy. I totally recommend you come in.
I'll try and come. What time?
So it's
Someone tried to have the 7 on December the 3rd.
It's really great.
And of course, our very own Rob is the person who set up Cave Ellen in the first place. So, he did the most amazing job up there, and the hospital just think it's the best thing ever. So, we're extremely lucky he's now come and brought all his fantastic expertise to us.
It's in my diary.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, so thank you for that. Any more questions, observations? If not, can we move on to the Chair of Culture, Tourism and Communication?
Nothing really to add. I was just going to mention about the essence of Mumble supporting it, but you did that earlier. Thank you. So we're all good.
That's a good question. You're looking at the someone help me out.
Honour of Mumbles.
Honour of Mumbles. I just wondered if that progressed at all, and have you got it on your agenda?
It was agreed to talk about it, I think, in full council.
Yeah, it's a full council last meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Did go to full council, but
And then it's just. It needs.
There was a discussion at full council, but I think we were lacking really information.
It's also the policy for honouring local persons within FCC for their notable contribution to the area be devised and brought back to full council consideration.
Because I think we need to think back into what we used to do for the honour of Mumbles and what the criteria was.
So if I come to your next culture meeting and can we put it back on that agenda for that? And then I'll come to that and then because there's no huge rush on it.
People remember it.
Yeah, the one after. Yeah.
Yeah.
January
then, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's next.
Yes, we can add it tomorrow.
It's got a meeting.
Agenda. Next meeting.
Fine, yeah, great.
Are you doing the agenda for your next meeting? Okay, I'm going to go.
Question. I know that from your committee money went to the Underhill Disco.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the poster, there was no inkling that they were using public money to run that disco.
Yeah, it's a good point because I know.
This time that we gave them money, I know there's a big hoo-ha around this table time as well. They hadn't given any recognition it was public money. So we said then they're not having any more money until it's one of the rules. You have our money, you say you've got public money. So did that go through, I've been absent, did that go through committee?
It was agreed that there would be money for a Halloween disco and the venue was to be sorted because initially the idea was to have it at CU. But unfortunately we couldn't get CU and therefore the age that we really wanted to target, 14 to 17, was then brought down because we felt like we couldn't get them to the hub. So it was 11 plus. And actually the numbers weren't that great for that event. So I don't know whether we do that again, but I know the poster you're talking about, I saw it myself.
Yes.
The Underhill Hub were having an event that they were doing themselves. They were doing one they were doing themselves. It was nothing to do with us, but they did it as like a big Halloween week, and they added ours to that to publicise our
I'm
event.
sorry, there's no excuses. It's public money and they should acknowledge this public money.
Yeah. Perhaps Claire could have a word with about that.
They don't get any more money from us at all. It went through your, I don't know, it went through committee and it went through full council that we would give them that money, yeah?
It went to our
It went to the
committee.
event. It didn't.
Yeah, no, for the event, not necessarily Underhill Hub. Underhill Hub was then the venue that was chosen to put it on. So
The second thing is, our marketing and events officer ran that event,
Mm.
yeah?
yes,
So we paid for the event, we paid for the person to go in it for them. And still no acknowledgement at all that this public money that they're using.
They weren't using it, it was our event, right?
So
What the poster was actually advertising one of the things that they were doing plus ours and they threw it in. And yes, I did think what Pam's thinking. Why is there an MCC logo not on that? So it is probably worth a discussion of like, in future, if you're going to do that, could you please add that in?
This is a recurring problem.
The rules that we laid down, if you have public money, you will do that. Isn't that part of what they should?
An expectation, yes.
No, it's not an expectation. It's a requirement, which is quite different from an, don't have a chat about it, we laid.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think of as many Halloween parties as possible as close to where people live is great. But I would say I did have poster envy. The poster was excellent. I just wanted to say that. Really high standard. Thank you.
Out of interest, Sarah, was that the MCC one or was that the Underhill Hub's own one?
I think it was the Underhill Hubs one. That was for
No, it was the
Halloween
MCC
event.
one.
Was
I
it?
think. Yeah.
Is it the one that was a dark colour?
No. Well, ours was quite dark, but this one it was just really nice. A poster. I thought, oh, that's a nice poster. Anyway, it was good.
Anyway, I think the point that is being made here is that, and it does seem to be a bit of a breakdown in communication. But it is a bit of an ongoing issue that we are having with Underhill, if you ask me. That they're not acknowledging the input that Mumbles Community Council have been putting into. So I think maybe this is.
Would it be possible to propose that they get no money until they adhere to the conditions?
Well, I was going to say, I think this is something that definitely needs to go to the working group to be raised there. I think we'd have to go to a resolution for full council, and I think, to be honest, over something like this, which just does seem to be mainly a breakdown in communication, because the point that was raised there, you were going to do it somewhere else, but then in the end, it ended up being up.
Yeah, they did distribute our own posters there, advertising that it was an MCC event, both on their screens and actually on posters at the venue. I think it was just a slip on their behalf, because it was their own poster they were designing, that they added ours in, probably for extra publicity. And you're right.
Can we go back? The point is, excuse me, the point is that I think we need to take this back to the working group. This needs to be raised with the working group, and then we need to have an answer back from them.
Yeah.
Every time that something like this occurs, it needs to be raised.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so can we move? Sarah, I see your hands up again.
Just to say, though, Chair, the problem is they've got passed on it, so we're very sensitive to it, aren't we? Because so many times we've done that kind of thing. But yeah, it needs to go back.
It's something that keeps on occurring, and this is why I think every time it does occur now, we need to raise it.
Yeah.
And to sort of say, look, you keep on doing this, but this is also the part of forging a robust working relationship with them. And also I think this goes with the representation that we have out on the trustee board, which is something we're still working on. Okay, so moving forward then to the committee recommendations, which number 13. So the main recommendations here is the Environmental Committee held a big climate leap working group be established. You've already talked about this. Review the report, take forward on recommendations. Membership of the group is open to all councillors and anyone who would like to be a member of the group to give them Friday the 15th of the 11th. Has anybody got any objection to this? If not, can we put it to a vote? All in favour?
Can I just encourage people, it would be good for it not to just be the environmental committee.
Yes, I think that's vital, to be honest, is that, you know, something I always,
That's the whole of
yeah,
it.
something I always sort of say, particularly about environmental stuff, it encompasses all aspects of the work of Mumbles Community Council. So I think it's important that we have a wide representation on this group. Right. Well, we can't really do this next one until we discuss it in the closed session.
Yeah, no, that's why it says to be discussed at
Yeah.
item 18.
Okay, so we'll have to go back to that later on. So then if we go on to point 14, to consider grant funding application for lanes and Mumbles. Again, you find this in your pack. This is third way. Sorry.
Would you like me to just?
Yeah.
Obviously, I hope you've all taken the time to read basically this grant, and I put all the information received. The grant application came in to us on the 6th of February. So it's something that Diane Lover as an officer has been going back and forth with the applicant on for quite some time. It's actually a group of residents who have come together to form this group, who have got back alleys that run down the back of their houses that are trying to do something to improve the aesthetic of the area and improve it. Unfortunately, because they're not a constituted group, they haven't got a bank account. The lady was saying, oh, can you pay it into my bank account? We can't pay it into her bank account. We've been going around in circles trying to help her, and basically we have then said, how about that we would put it to council that you tell us what you want to purchase and where you want to purchase it from. MCC will then get the invoice made to them. We pay the invoice, and then you go ahead and sort it out. The ladies had a bit of personal issues, so she was a bit late coming back to us because we aimed to get this to the recent finance committee. She missed the deadline for that. So obviously I spoke to the chair and said, can I bring it forward to council? He said yes. She's had a quote for the bulb she wants to get from Cash Hardware for 330. They're applying for grant funding of £700. So we're seeking approval tonight for two reasons. First of all, to approve them for the full 700, and second of all, to purchase so we can get the bulbs purchased for them so they can get them in, because bulb planting is a very seasonal time window, as we all know. And if you miss that time window, you miss your bulb planting basically. So that's why we brought it forward this evening. Happy to take any questions, and I hope that you're obviously okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Will first, then Candy.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, firstly,
Yeah, no, I was going to work my way down that way. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, firstly, I think it ticks a lot of boxes for council. You know, it shows that we're engaging with the community, people from the community volunteering to do it. It's environmentally friendly for, you know, pollinators, that sort of thing. Just a comment on, is it just bulbs, or are they looking at wildflowers as well for the other part of the season?
At the moment, she's asked for tete-a-tete. I believe they are for daffodils. To my knowledge now. Yeah. We have been communicating with them, and we're hoping that if we can help get them constituted as a group, we can help get them some stuff through Keep Wales Tidy, because they do starter packs and different type of seasonable packs. So we're hoping to get them some of that, but we can feed it back if you would like to see wildflowers.
The only other thing I just feed it, and obviously I don't know the capacity of our grounds person, but maybe, you know, once or twice a year we could spare them to just trim the lane back because it's not something the council do because obviously it's unadopted. So if you could just feedback that
Yeah,
as
that's
well
fine.
and just so it gets tidy once or twice a year, that'd be great. Thank you. Great idea. That's got my support.
Okay, Carol?
Yeah, just in case people aren't clear where we're talking about, these are the lanes behind Woodville, Oakland and Kings.
Yeah.
So they're those lanes that go up between Queen's Road and Overland Road. If you remember, this grant application came out of the fact that we put forward a budget proposal to get the work done on those lanes, and it was suggested that because of the budget restrictions and things, instead of it going through that, the group who had approached us with the request in the first place apply for grant funding for it. So it was kind of a recommendation from the community council in the first place that they apply for that grant funding. So it sort of, would be a bit churlish for us now to say, no, we're not going to approve it. And I mean, they have done loads of work in tidying up those lanes. They've done several litter picks that I have helped with, and Lydia, I know, has also, and Martin did some work down there, tidying them up, cutting back the brambles, cutting back the nettles. So, we have, done what we can to help them, but it's just brilliant that they really want to take it on their own. And fortunately, there's a group of them and they represent the 3 streets. So, it means that each of them, we know there's people involved who are going to look after that particular lane.
I think it's a lovely idea, and it would be great if even more people came forward. My question is, if more people did come forward and then they equally wanted the same, how are we going to man that going forward? If you've got different streets in Mumbles, West Cross, Males, Langland, and they all say, oh, we want to do this, where do we, and just to clarify, there's not equipment, and if it is equipment, can we all have it here so everyone could sort of share it?
I would say if anybody else wants to come forward, then again, they go through the grant funding application, because you may have groups out there that represent different areas that constitute, they've got their own bank account already. My understanding is this was a very, a group that have just come together.
Yeah. And it is admirable, you want to do it, it's just we can't do it for them.
Also, I think that this would give us a seed, if you like, something we could build on. If somebody wanted to go down, so we can do this, that's what I'm saying there.
Who's there?
Okay.
Marvellous idea.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Firstly, well done to those within the council to come up with the idea, to facilitate the idea, because it's normally we have a policy that they have to have a bank account. They have to contribute a certain sum of money for grant. So this is something different, and I have no objections to it. I did make note of a couple of queries. What number of volunteers have you got?
Me personally,
This group that's applying for the grant.
I think it's a kind of movable feast. There's 3 of them who are like the committee, but last time I was there helping them with a litter pick, it was about 10.
I think they came to a meeting once.
They did. Yeah, they did come to a meeting, yeah.
Well, I didn't know there was a meeting on such a thing. So
Committee about 18 months ago.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
They came in, I think
there's a bit of history attached to it. I think we have to be careful with using our ground person. He's got enough to contend with, possibly. The other query, are they working to a plan? Is your plan those 3 streets, not the streets or the area of land behind
It's
the
lanes.
3 streets?
The 3
Those are the
lanes.
streets. Who owns the lane?
They're unadopted lanes.
They're unadopted. Okay. And have they canvassed the people that use that lane or back onto it? Have they?
I got the impression when they came.
They spoke to most of their neighbours,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's the impression I
That's the
got.
question then. You're saying is yes, is it?
Yeah.
They've all lived in each of those streets for a very long time.
Yeah, we're just trying to clarify.
And then the other thing, of course, who's overseeing the plant? Planting's a great idea, but they need to know what they're planting and where they're planting it.
Okay, we've got quite a few councillors want to speak in this. I'll bring Richard in next and then Sarah. Richard?
Yeah, just briefly, agree with everything you've been said. But additionally, it's good that our grant money is going to a local business. That we sent it today for.
Yeah. This is catches. Sarah?
Yeah, I agree. It's good that it goes to a local business. It's an unadopted road, so I don't think we have to. We don't have to worry. I think, Ian, you need to do something to the mic.
Sorry, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, it's echoing back at me. Ideally, we would want to encourage people every year. Perhaps the environmental committee could put like £700 aside for grants for people to have bulbs in different areas.
That's a good idea. We could think about that.
Yeah, that way we've got a set amount and we can say, well, when it's gone, it's gone. But, publicise it. Yeah.
I was going to say, just to answer the question about what if there's loads, well, we all have every ward's got a small little budget for bulb planting. And I think if, further kind of initiatives do come forward, liaising with the councillor to say, actually, there's a lane in Nails, you would focus the ward budget on that area. So I don't think that's a risk necessarily. And I think it's good to see people coming through. And I feel bulb planting is easy. I took my 8-year-old to do it. On Saturday, we're doing it again on this Saturday. It is easy, even young kids can do it. So I think in terms of volunteers, it's one of the wildflowers is harder, isn't it? It's one of the easiest things you can do. So I think it's a good thing to encourage people to take some action, and it's low risk, I believe.
Okay, well, follow. Okay, Pam.
The one-way system up there, it's dangerous at times. So could that be? Is there anybody who'd be interested in doing that? Is there money to do that? I know we've done it ourselves in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, Limekiln.
And also, I think
Just the cut.
Yeah, it's a road. Okay, can we? I think what we need to discuss is the proposal which is here in front of us. We can discuss, like other people have said, about £700 being made available every year, stuff like this. The thing about the one-way system and sort of stuff like that. But let's concentrate on the proposal that's here in front of us. I think just generally, I'll bring in a few others now, but
I'm ready to go.
I think just generally the consensus at the table is that this is something that we are keen to support. So as I sort of said, I'll bring you in.
So ask one more thing. I just think that if we're doing the 3 lanes in the centre of Mumbles, Victoria Avenue should really be involved in it. And if we haven't got volunteers, maybe we should look into that, because it is probably the most used lane out of all those anyway in the back, and it's the most prominent one. So,
but again, I will go back. We need to vote on what's in front of us.
They're looking after their own street. You can't go back and say you've got to look after something.
All these points have been raised about the one-way system, about the £700 every year and sort of stuff, about whether we can the possibility of rolling out into other areas, are all pertinent, valid points. But let's concentrate on what's in front of us here tonight. Let's vote on this, and then we need to keep in mind all the other things that we've talked about. So can I put it to council that we vote on this? All those in favour? Yeah. There we go. So that's that through. Okay, so report to consider councillors' remuneration policies.
Yeah. So the report has been included in your agenda pack. It's the independent remuneration panel report that's published every year. There are certain recommendations that we need to agree each one individually, and this needs to be minuted that each one's been agreed individually. So the first one we need to ask to decide on is whether council will make a payment of £52 per councillor for the cost of reimbursement for consumables.
Yes.
So these are recommendations.
These are recommendations by the Independent Remuneration Panel, which we as a council have to vote on whether you're going to accept them or decline those payments.
And the advice that you've been, that we are given. Yeah, and if we were to vote against them, what is the?
It's fine, you don't claim it, so there's different ones, obviously. As we go through the report, you'll see what they are. So the first one is that there's an allowance of £52 a year for councillors to claim for consumables, which is paper printing.
Yeah.
That type of.
And it's the recommendation from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So paper printing for whom?
For you as a councillor.
It's £900 worth of paper a year.
No, this is for you individually, stuff you print off on your printer at home.
I don't print any
Petrol you might use driving around.
to printing.
Well, it's consumable.
It's consumables for paper, staples.
Just point out, it's not that or nothing. If we don't give everyone just a flat rate of £52, then Paul or Diane or someone would have to process all our individual claims that we make for each individual bit of printing or whatever that we do, because we are entitled, if we don't have this £52, to claim it all individually. So the £52 is an easy way of doing it, basically.
This is it.
Saves all this.
It doesn't matter. It's just that it's there, and if it's needed,
You can choose not to claim it if you feel you don't need it.
It doesn't matter that you don't print anything.
Yeah.
It's just there, and to be honest with you,
So
my recommendation would be to council that we accept these. Because.
The idea is we need you to vote on them so we know what we're including in the budget. So if you vote that there's £52 per councillor for 18 of you available in a year, that gets factored into the budget. Then we go through, the next one is £500 for the chair of each committee of the 4 or 5 committees that we've got, okay? So that gives you the flavour of what you're going to.
And then what happens to the money if it doesn't get claimed?
It doesn't get claimed, it goes into the it goes in the general pot at the end of the year.
So if you have 52 or your 500 or whatever, it's still there at the end of the year as like extra then for what?
No, so what right, so the way our budgeting works, we budget, we come in over budget, we go under budget. At the end of every year, you have a rolling pot of money, which is your balance figure at the end of the year. It's what you call it. It's called the general reserve, but it's not a reserve in such that it's ring fenced. That general reserve will either fluctuate or decrease year on year, depending on where you perform in your budget. Part of budget process is when we get to the year end, Paul will look where we've underperformed, overperformed, and if we can, we're buying between budgets, so budgets level themselves out. There may some years be money that needs to come out of that pot of money at the end of the financial year to cover anything that we've under budgeted for or overspent by, or vice versa. If there's money left after we've done all the balancing out, it goes into that pot of money at the end of the year, unless we come to council and say, right, going into your general reserve would be 50k. Council could then decide that they want to ring fence that into an earmarked reserve for a different specific reason. It's not like your councillor budget where if you have £20,000, you can carry it forward to next year, because you're ideally not meant to carry forward any budget without council's explicit consent. I hope that makes sense in a nutshell.
Okay, Richard. Okay.
Yeah, I've done a bit of printing in my own house and everything, but I've got 150 quid a year anyway. So we've had to cut things in the past. So should we be claiming this?
So you get £156 a year. They tax now because they've changed that to working from home allowance. Where before £150 used to cover the cost of working from home, fuel, printing, everything else. So they've changed that now because there was a lot of confusion around what was taxable and what wasn't taxable on councillors' allowances. So they've made this now, the £52 is what you get is tax-free. The £156 allowance is taxable. Yes.
Yeah, it's still taxable.
Okay.
And the recommendation is that we approve.
That they've made a recommendation that there was a payment of £52 per year per councillor for office consumables. council need to decide whether this payment, whether the payment is to be made, or the full reimbursement of the cost is to be made. Paul's recommendation.
This is the recommendation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah?
I would recommend we accepted it simply because we don't want to be in a position where we turn it down and it actually means that future community councillors will think, you know what, I can't afford to be a community councillor. I buy this, I spend that, I don't remember
Exactly.
how to be. I think it's just easier.
Yeah, I think this is a very valid point. You know, this is a criticism that has been levelled at community councils all along. Is you know, it is an onerous task, let's be honest. In a lot of ways, we give a lot of our time for free and so stuff like that. I know people are always saying on social media, oh, there's community councils, they're always in it for themselves, for backhanders and stuff like that. But like, if you come from, if you haven't got much money anyway, and you come into being a community council and you're expected to pay your own travel, your own printing, and on top of all the voluntary time as well, is, you know, as you sort of said, you don't have to claim it. There's no necessity that you do have to claim it, but it is there as something to encourage people to that they're not out of pocket for being a community councillor. So my own feeling is, I very much echo what Sarah says there. I think that we should accept it. Did you want to say anything, Kerry?
I know, I'm just waiting for you to
Sorry.
come back and accept the
Well, I'm not, shut up. Will there be any way you can record how much we've actually spent of this money?
Of course there is.
Well, no money, of course, I'm just asking.
No, well, there's some, you know, all money that we spend, all expenditure.
So at the end of the year, we can say we've got 900 or whatever pound there that we put aside, but we only spent 350 of it.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't work like that.
No,
You
but-
either get a flat rate £52 that you either spend it, you might spend 100 tough, you still only get £52, or each individual councillor, every time they make any sort of purchase of printing paper, printer ink, driving to the, you know, whatever.
The petrol comes out.
Well, yeah, but they could claim all those expenses separately, so it would mean that Paul had to process each
I think
time.
what you're saying is there is
And it
no-
could be more than
There is
£52.
no way that we can say at the end of the year, we put 900 pounds odd aside, but we spent so much of it.
No, it's
There's
individual.
no way of us saying that
councillors.
we've underspent or overspent. That's,
Yeah, it's for each individual councillor. Some might overspend, some might underspend, but they just get flat rate.
see mine being nil, so I just want to know if it's possible for us to get a record of how much you've actually spent, but the answer is obviously no.
No.
I'm happy about that.
I spent loads, all the car, those are the meals, nooks,
exactly.
I buy that as well, but then
Never mind.
I don't track that and then claim it, God.
Yeah,
Suck it up.
just,
Do you want to, but I do think we need to go to.
Some people like spending, some people not. That doesn't even need to be out there because it's unfair.
exactly.
That's the point I'm making, really. So can I put it to the vote? Are we just voted on that particular?
Do we vote on each one?
Yeah.
To vote on each one?
So whether you make a reimbursement for consumables for the cost of £52 per year to each councillor.
All those in favour? Okay,
Next one then is that the IRPW recognises that specific roles, especially within larger councils, committee chairs, will involve a greater responsibility and have determined that councils in Group 1, which we fall under, can pay up a maximum of £500 to senior roles up to a maximum of 7. It has been the policy of Mumbles Community Council that senior role payments of £500 be made to the chairs of each standing committee, with the following roles receiving a senior payment role unless the holder opts out of receiving the payment. So that is the chair of Community and Social, Culture, Tourism and Communications, Environmental Committee, Finance and Compliance. So council has been asked to confirm that the chair of each committee mentioned above are to receive the £500 senior payment role for 24-25, and whether the additional 3 senior role payments available are to be allocated, and if so, to indicate who else is to receive the payment. So you can make up to 7 senior role payments. You've got 4 for your chairs of committees, that leaves 3 left. So whether you just want to stop at the 4 for the chair of committees or determine the
and this is again, we're just doing what we've always done in the past. So, anybody got any questions? If not, I will put it.
See.
That's different. It's different again, right? So, again, if there's no questions, can I put it to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you.
Next one is travel and subsistence costs. Council have the option to pay for travel and subsistence costs, including travel by taxi, and if this is the only or the most appropriate method of transport where a councillor incurs costs. So travel costs must be the actual cost of travel made by public transport or the HMRC rate for mileage. So it's 45p per mile up to 10,000 miles, 25p per mile over 10,000 miles, 5p per mile for passenger carried on council business, 24p per mile for private motorcycles, and 20p per mile for people using bicycles. And this is in a one financial year. That is the first one. Councillors may also claim for parking and tolls. And if the council resolves that an approved duty requires an overnight stay, subsistence costs may be paid up to the maximum tolerable amount. £28 per 24-hour period allowance for meals, including breakfast where not provided. £200 for London overnight stay. £95 elsewhere, or £30 for staying with friends and family overnight.
I was going to say.
It has been the policy of Mumbles Community Council to pay travel and subsistence costs to councillors undertaking approved duties at the rates outlined above. Council is asked to confirm that the option to pay travel and subsistence costs is to be approved for 24-25. So can we have a vote?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Those
you.
in favour? Thank you.
Okay, right, next one is compensation for financial loss. Councillors may pay councillors for financial loss when undertaking approved duties at the following rates, subject to each councillor demonstrating that financial loss is being incurred. So, for example, if Will came to an event, and because I know you were full-time and sat with me, if Will came to an event and he could for a half day, and Will could prove that by attending the council's event, he's not been working, not taking annual leave, then he can claim £59.81 for half a day, or £119.62 for a full day. It has been the policy of Mumbles to compensate councillors where financial loss is being occurred as the result of attending approved duties. Council is asked to confirm that the option to pay financial loss compensation is to be approved for 24-25. Please.
Stay on that one.
And in case it's you.
So you abstained, anybody against?
As a retired person, if you're quite left out of that.
Contribution towards costs of care and personal assistance. The purpose of this is to enable councillors who have personal support needs and or caring responsibilities to carry out their duties effectively as a member of the council. Therefore, the reimbursement of care costs and personal allowances whilst undertaking council business or approved duties is mandated, and therefore no decision is required by council. So I just wanted to make you aware that there is a payment available.
Does that include child minding or babysitting?
Yeah.
It includes child babysitting. And
So you can
also
claim for that?
Caring for.
Yes, no, three of
You can claim for babysitting and
That's
child
not
minding.
Yeah, it will be soon. She will be. She knows. She does claim it.
The next one we're asked to vote on is civic head and deputy civic head. So the independent remuneration panel recognises that civic heads, as well as chair of meetings, also act as an ambassador representing council at various events, institutions and organisations. This also applies to the role of deputy civic head. Councils may approve a payment of up to £1,500 for the chair of the council and £500 to the vice chair. This is in addition to the £156 allowance for costs and for the £500 role for payments if claimed. It has been the policy of Mumbles Community Council to make available a payment of £1,500 to the chair and £500 to the vice chair. Council is asked to confirm that the option of making those payments for the chair and vice chair is approved for 24-25. Yeah, okay. Attendance,
Chair, do we have to, Clark, sorry, do we have to declare an interest in any of this when we're the ones?
Well, you won't, don't know if you will be next year. This is for next year.
Right, yeah, so cancel, yeah.
The next one is attendance allowance, which can be quite controversial, I will say. The Independent Remuneration Panel report gives councils the option of paying an attendance allowance for attending approved duties and acknowledges that in some cases this might be a valuable addition to support the work of council. The amount of each payment must not exceed £30 or more, must not exceed £30 and would not be payable where a councillor is receiving financial loss compensation for the same event. If council wishes to introduce an attendance allowance, it must set out details of the scheme and publish them on the website. Council is asked to consider whether it wishes to introduce a scheme for the payment of attendance or allowance, and if the council wish to introduce a scheme, the RFO will develop a scheme which will be reported to a future council meeting for consideration. So just to give you an example, attendance allowance, some councils implemented it when this first became a recommendation. So for councillors attending council meetings, they got paid £30 per attend to get paid £30 per meeting. So then there were some councillors that then started putting themselves forward onto all committees, so they could claim £30 allowance. So then the councils started to click onto this, so they started setting that their meetings were all on the same night. So if you attended on one night, you could only claim £30 regardless of how many meetings you attended in that one night. It is something that can become quite onerous for the staff because these have to be processed through
and also
payroll as well.
in the past, we haven't, as a council, we haven't implemented this. So I just wanted to make that point.
I mean, some of these incentives as extras are good and attractive, don't get me wrong, but and then they are important, but if everybody wants to claim everything that we're all entitled to, how much money will there be left for MCC? You know, with all of what you've mentioned, everybody, if they want to, could claim for a lot if they want to push the button. And then they're entitled to saying that's wrong, but then, wow, that's quite a lot of money.
But this one, if you ask me, is a bit different.
Yeah.
So what does it actually apply to, like Sarah's, the Warm House, particularly every Friday?
Just be council meetings.
It's up to the
Council meetings, it's not things like how we do
We go to these meetings now, you know, we like as I said, chairs of committees, you get stuff for consumables and stuff like that. But this is something different. You actually get paid for attending the meeting.
So which we were paid for setting up things like having parties and being there and working all hours.
That's different.
It isn't just 5 to 7. It's 1 in the afternoon and the following morning as well. So if we were paid for that, that would be good.
Okay, Sarah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think you can be a bit too extreme. I think we just need to have an even playing field, don't we? I mean, we shouldn't have to be paid to come to meetings.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's our duty. That's what we were voted in for. So that's one step too far as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Hannah, sorry I missed you with that then.
Yeah, no, I agree with Sarah. I think we all know this is a voluntary position. We do it on a voluntary basis, and once you start doing that, it's becoming a paid thing, and it's not what anyone is voting for or signing up for. So I don't agree. We shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay then. So following that discussion, can I put it to the vote? Those in favour of accepting this thing. All those. So I can see any in favour. All those against. So that is rejected.
Status quo.
Okay, is that it now?
No.
Ronald's action group would have loved that, wouldn't they?
Field day.
Okay, just obviously the policy is on the website for teams for you to read. Obviously, it just says when your payments will be made and future payments will be made as well. So this is a policy for you as councillors to read and make sure you understand it, because I'm not going to do it for you.
But because in all fairness, Pam did raise a good point, as in, when you need volunteers to help set up the events and it's required like maybe a good few more hours, that might be more of an inconvenience to somebody because that might be in the day or different evening, and Pam couldn't claim the loss of earnings maybe for that day either then, you know?
Yeah,
It was still having to we had someone who were back there on Saturday morning working all
clearing
night
up.
to the evening.
And we need those people, we need.
Yeah.
I can see why it should be.
I completely disagree. I think if we can't do it and there's not the will inside the council, we shouldn't be doing the event. And I'm not saying, I don't help out with a lot of these events, so I'm not saying that my opinion's right. I'm just saying that I don't think that that's why we're here. And if we haven't got the capacity to do it, we shouldn't be doing it.
It's usually the same people all the time doing it.
Can I just say you've just voted on it, so
Yeah.
that's passed and you can't go back.
Yeah.
Unless if there is a massive desirement for it, you can bring forward a motion that would need to be signed by councillors and submitted to me to bring it back to the next council.
I think what Pam was suggesting is something completely different. It wasn't a big attendance.
We finished with that section now.
You have finished with that.
Thank you, Clark.
Well done.
I just have to apologise because as my trustee colleague has just checked pointed out to me here, I've had a bit of a moment when I've been doing the numbering on the agenda. So 15 and 16 actually repeat twice. So the numbers out, so I do apologise.
Same.
We like them so much, we'll have them again.
If we go on to point 17 now, then, so exclusion of the press.
So we've just done 15, which is the remuneration port. We've got 16 to do, and then the next one that goes to 15, which is exclude.
Sorry, yeah. These numbers are getting confusing. It was considered by him at the vendor spend for Underhill Halloween event, the Christmas light switch on. Anybody got any questions or?
Just out of curiosity, what is the underspend?
£382.
Right, and so this would be in addition to the grant £7,000 that we've had, the 2,000 separates that we give to Mumbles Traders.
Yes, no,
So we're already then spending
£9,000.
£9,000, over £9,000. I just wondered why we needed any more. It seems, for one event, it seems a huge amount.
You're actually spending of that.
Well, like recently, that there's no money there for any entertainment on the stage.
Oh, I thought that was.
Yeah.
This is a meeting. So I wasn't there, but I'm trying to explain the best I can. If you want to jump in and tell me. So a meeting was attended by with the person that is the organizer of our event, and it became clear from the meeting that there was no money for a concert, so for any entertainment on the stage. Rightly so, Angela and Claire have got concerned because obviously MCC are sponsoring this event, and we've also got extra grant funding put in place there. So as a security to ourselves, I suppose, that if we are in a position where there's no entertainment or compare secured, we have got that money to fall back on in an emergency. I am querying with the event organizer exactly what our money is being for. I know
proper breakdown.
Exactly.
The way the first part is working, so the just under the £7,000. Part of that we're putting towards the Christmas decorations that are going outside the off-stream centre, the train and the selection boxes, and then we're paying out the infrastructure for the stage and the road closure and the sound and the lighting that goes outside, which is normally paid for through the grants that we give to the group that put the Christmas light switch in. So the idea was picking up those costs in the grant funding that we're getting from Swansea, it frees up more money to become available for the event itself, entertainment, rides, whatever it wants to go for. So I have asked for a specific breakdown of what our grant funding money is being spent on. I've asked twice now, I still haven't got it. I will ask again tomorrow. Unfortunately, I've on annual leave next week for a week, so I will keep obviously trying to get that information from that person. But what I will say is that obviously when we go into budget setting, this is a massive consideration for us going forward.
How much are we spending on
That's the very least that we could have is, you know. Saying that, I think this almost is something different really, because, you know, this is just firemen, because where else is this money going really, isn't it?
Well, it could go.
Yeah, it could.
For us as a security, that if we have to step in and we have to put something on, we.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
You could caveat it that if that money is not spent, it goes.
Is if you know, if it doesn't go like, it can be.
To think that it is a reserve. If it is underspent, that it comes back to be made available for other events that will be running.
Wrong way round. Before we got this chap to do it for us, shouldn't we have laid down what we wanted and he priced it and told us how much it'd be?
Well,
Okay, Sarah, did you want to come in?
There's no accountability here.
It sounds great, Kerry. I'm just worried that once again all the funding seems to slide towards Oystermouth. I've been worrying myself sick how to decorate our community centre for the Christmas party. I just don't want to find that all the money disappears and it's like, oh sorry, it's all in Oystermouth.
Okay, so can I just say that the Christmas light switch on is an event for the whole of the community.
Yeah.
It's just it's just used on this road and that's in Oystermouth. We're specifically putting money towards Oystermouth itself.
That at all. My problem is this should have been itemised and budgeted before we said we would have put it. So that we knew that we could afford it before we started, not now scrabbling around for a couple of £100 here and there just in case we don't. It's the wrong way around.
Okay, but so can I go back to the original recommendation that the environment of the underspend for the Underhill Halloween event goes to the Christmas light switch on for now until we sort of.
And if we as a reserve, not that, oh, it'll give us some more money to spend extra things on.
Yeah.
It is purely as a reserve, as an emergency, if there is a shortfall.
So not happy, vote for it, but I'm not happy with it.
Well, no, I don't think any of us are really happy with it because, you know, this is why we're asking for the breakdown of the we're doing, and really we should have had this previously.
I'm happy with Gary's alteration of the chair.
Back into everybody, just a bit more information. Obviously, when we were in the budget setting phase last year and an amount was approved to this group to obviously do the events through the whole of the year, a breakdown was given for Christmas for each individual event. It just so happens that we were given the opportunity to get grant funding through Swansea, which is obviously kicked this out of sync. So that's why we're now going back and asking for a more further detailed breakdown as to where our grant funding money is being spent.
Okay, so based on Carrie's caveat, are we happy to pass that?
Yes, and to say, we agreed to, there's more than 9,000.
Hannah, you got your hand up?
Hold on. Yeah, can I just ask a question on this money that we're giving, the 2,000, not the 7,000, because obviously we didn't know we were going to get the 7,000. Have we, one, already given the group the 2,000? And two, if they don't give us a breakdown in advance of the event, are we still giving them the 2,000?
Been requested and drawn down to enable the rest of the event to be planned. We have been paid just under the 7,000, which we will retain control of, and that individual group for the stage, the lighting and everything else have to submit the invoices to us, so we can then submit that. We pay those invoices and we submit that as evidence to Swansea City Council to fulfil that side of the grant funding. With regards to going forward, again, this is something I feel needs to be discussed in the budget setting meeting for the whole of the grant funding that is provided to that group for the events they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we clarify that, can I just That we're happy to that payment, that isn't the thing. So, okay, to move on to point 17 then, exclusion of press and public. Are we happy to exclude?
It's a good question. Are all these 4 items all confidential?
Yes.
I'm just intrigued as to why Mumbles Fest should be confidential. Mumbles should be.
Contract first. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the issue about Mumbles Fest will become obvious with
Okay.
discussion. But you know, it's a good point that you raise that.
Yeah. Because people will question why are these things being done
Yeah.
you know, without,
Yeah.
and without being reported. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, these things should be questioned at the time where you, but you know, as I sort of said, so are we happy to exclude the press and the public? Yeah. Okay.
Stop recording, Chair.
Yes, of course.
Boy, wouldn't it be lovely if someone just came in with a tray of tea?
Okay, so.
The camera off.
The
red button.
On the floor. Yeah.
Stop recording, that's it, stop.